Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man's Core channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. Today I'm reacting my third and final scary storyteller video for you guys. And this video that I'm reacting to right now is 5 creepy true online dating stories featuring Bad Vibe Storytelling from the Mr. Haunted channel. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
In June of 2008, my girlfriend was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
We had unfortunately caught it late, and she was practically living in a hospital bed for the next few months. Every other day, I go to visit her to check up on her and to see how everything was going. However, she then died a week later from the cancer, and the doctors did everything they could to treat it.
Man, that's hard to hear. Nobody should go through cancer. May this guy's girlfriend rest in peace.
There's no exact cure for lung cancer, so that was one of the reasons as to why she passed. Needless to say, for the next few months, I was completely devastated. I wouldn't talk to anyone, I barely eat, and I mostly stuck to the internet for the most part. In fact, my depression only grew more and more, that I'd sometimes not even go to work. Every day, I would come home wailing and depressed about my girlfriend. She was the sweetest and most generous girl you could ask for. And it's really sad to know that one of the people who I mostly adored in my life had been ripped away, never to come back. Anyway, fast forward to around the month of September, I started interacting with more people, and I finally accepted the fact that I needed to move on and let go and to find someone else. It was possibly the hardest thing that I've ever gone through in my entire life. However, I ended up making an account on a dating site, which I won't disclose the name of, but my friends told me that I should start there if I wanted to find someone.
Me personally, if I was dating somebody and I really liked them that much and then they passed away from an illness, I don't know if I can get back right in the dating game right away. But I get it. He's getting tired of feeling lonely and depressed, and finding someone that would not be a direct match with the same personality like a girlfriend, but somebody that will love and cherish you for life like she did. Let's just put it that way. Because you're definitely not going to find someone that's like her out there in the world. She was just one of a kind. But anyway, let's continue.
Now, I'm not the type of guy who's comfortable with giving out my number or email to the public, so I put a link to my Facebook so that if someone were to chat with me, that they could do so on there. Within a week, a girl had messaged me over Facebook telling me that she had found me over the dating site and that she lived in the next few towns over in my state. Her name was Amanda, and she claimed to be just a little older than me, but still in my league. Based on her post of herself, she wasn't the most good-looking girl, but she definitely wasn't ugly. I went with it and realized that it was better than not having a relationship. For the first few weeks, we'd chat through direct message on Facebook, and eventually the time came where I felt more comfortable around Amanda, and we then exchanged phone numbers. One day, I decided to man up and FaceTime her. She picked up, and she was talking to me in a very nice voice. However, the footage I was seeing was very grainy, and I didn't see her face, but I did see her sitting in what looked like a couch. Weeks went by, and every day after work, I'd hop on my phone and call or text Amanda. In fact, I became so close and comfortable around her that I started talking about what happened with my previous girlfriend and other personal things I wouldn't be comfortable sharing with any of my other friends. One day, she asked me if I wanted to come over to her house over the weekend so we could hang out as her parents wouldn't be home. I told her that I was up for it, and she texted me saying that she, quote, couldn't wait to see me.
I would agree with what this guy just said, because if you just met this person, I wouldn't be giving all the sad details about your previous girlfriend just yet until you really hit it off. And then you can share personal information like that, because you never know, this girl will be the type of person that would gossip about you behind your back, or it might be a whole catfish situation, and it might be a guy that might use that info to their advantage somehow. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point, but still, I wouldn't even say nothing about that at all.
Fast forward to the day I was meeting her. She texted me her address and I plugged it into my GPS. It was about 15 miles from my house in the suburbs, so it wasn't too far for me. I pulled up to the correct address and was greeted to an old-looking house that looked like it had been built in the 40s. There's not many houses that look like that in Wisconsin, but they exist. Immediately, alarms started going off in my head when I noticed that every light in the house looked to be off. I texted Amanda telling her that I was in her driveway. She told me that she didn't use the front door and that I should go around back. Now, at this point, one would normally identify this situation as sketchy, but I was the type of guy where curiosity would always get the best of me. I went around back and saw that the sliding glass door was open. However, all I could see inside the house was pitch blackness. I nervously yelled out Amanda, hoping to get a response from her, but there was none. Then, I did something I still regret doing till this day. As soon as I took one step inside the house, a very foul and putrid smell hit me in the face. Just then, I felt at least 3 or 4 cold hands grab me and start pulling me into the house. I tried to escape and run away, but whoever was grabbing on me was strong, and I couldn't see who it was. Eventually, I fell onto the floor and began kicking and screaming while trying to throw punches and kicks to the people holding me down. Keep in mind that I'm about 6 foot that weighs about 175 pounds, so it was extremely hard to resist. Finally, I remember kicking someone in the mouth and then running out of that house screaming. I thankfully made it back to my car and practically floored it down the road back to my house. I made it back, obviously, but I was still having constant fear that whoever that was would find me and do God knows what to me. After that incident, I stopped using online dating sites and swore from that day forward that I would simply talk and interact with girls in person. Me and Amanda stopped talking after that, and both her number and Facebook account was disconnected and gone. I'm now much more careful as to who I meet online and even in person. I don't know whatever happened to Amanda, but I do know that there was no girl in that house waiting for me. Please be careful when using dating websites. I wasn't careful enough, and I unfortunately had to pay the consequences.
Yep, I knew it. It was a whole stinking setup. I mean, I even felt weird vibes when he said that Amanda told him to go around back of the apartment and there weren't no lights on in the apartment whatsoever. I mean, that would have been enough for me to just close the door real quick and run back to my car. And I'm glad he was able to break free from the guys and get out of there. But I figured that they were going to delete their Facebook and dating account because they were afraid that it reported to the police. Always be careful when using dating apps. You never know if the person's going to be legit or not. But anyway, let's get to story number 2, shall we?
Okay, so this occurred when I was 19 years old, in the middle of the summer. It was around late July, to be exact. I had just started my second semester in college. Throughout my years of being a teen, I never made any friends, even if I tried. I was that typical lonely person who you would see in school sitting down by myself, not talking to anyone. The main cause of this is because I have poor social skills, and it's not easy to get rid of them, even when I've tried. When someone tries talking to me, I would either ignore them or give them a dry response. Things like, okay, hi, cool, and thanks. I didn't like ignoring people, but I was possibly the shyest person you'd ever met.
To be honest with you, back when I was in high school, I used to sit by myself, but then a lot of random students used to sit right next to me and we have something to talk about. In other words, I only talk to people if they speak to me first, because you definitely don't want to act awkward because people might start making fun of you for it.
I'd only talk to people if it was someone I truly knew, mainly family members.
Exactly.
One day I was talking to my cousin, who was 16, and at some point in the conversation I brought up the topic of relationships, and if she had any tips on how I could get into one. My cousin went on to explain that she had found her boyfriend through a dating site like Match.com, Tinder, Elite Singles, etc. Online dating never really crossed my mind, but now that my cousin brought it up, I realized I needed someone to be with. Therefore, I decided to try online dating for once, as I thought I might have better luck than actually meeting someone in person. I went for Match.com and signed up, created my profile, and added a bit of biography to give people an idea as to what I was like. About a week later, I got a notification from Match.com telling me that a guy named Matt wanted to message me. I accepted and took a look at his profile. He seemed like a nice guy, and we immediately started messaging. Turns out Matt had trouble talking to people as well, and didn't have many friends. From there on, we would chat every day back and forth, until we would decide to cut the conversation and continue the next day. I don't know what it was, but something about Matt made me feel very comfortable around him. I couldn't believe I finally found someone I actually enjoyed talking to. Anyway, fast forward to around September. School had just let back in, but we would still chat no matter what. One day, Matt asked me something I never expected him to say. He asked me if I would consider having sex with him. I told him that what he was saying was going a little too far.
I'll say it's going a little too far. I mean, don't you think you should just, date the girl for a little bit and before you start asking that question?
And I also began to feel a little creeped out. He stopped talking about that particular subject for a few days, but he always ended up bringing it up one way or another. After that, I blocked him and had no interest in what he had to say or ask. Fast forward about a week. I woke up for school one day to find 10 missed calls from an unknown number and a text message from the same number. I looked at it and my blood ran cold when I saw the text. It said, "Hey, it's Matt. Why did you block me?" I have absolutely no idea as to how he got my number, and I always try my very best not to give my number to people I don't know. In fact, I keep it so private that the only people who have my number are family related.
Oh boy. He was desperate to talk to her again, that he probably ran into one of her family members and kind of asked for her phone number, or a friend gave it to him stupidly. Either way, that's a little messed up and creepy.
I text back saying, "I don't want to talk to you anymore." He then begins with threats and calling me things no girl should be called. I told him to piss off, and I blocked his number. But as time progressed, I'd get calls and messages from different numbers, and would consistently have to block him again and again. It was useless. I told Matt that if he kept this up, I would have to contact the authorities, hoping that he would be forced to stop harassing me. However, that didn't seem to scare him. Instead of backing off, he kept up with abusive threats. Things like, "I'll find you," "I'll kill you," and other things I won't mention. The next day I disconnected my phone number and waited a few days to get a new one. Once I got a new number, everything stopped. The calls, the messages, the threats, everything. I didn't even get any messages on the site. I still have no idea as to what Matt's intentions were. Based on what occurred over the last few months, I could tell they weren't good.
Man, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I would have been taking his text to the police and see if they can go question him and tell him to stop harassing you. You always got to be careful when you try to look up somebody to date on one of these dating apps, because you never know if they're just back crap crazy. Let's just put it that way. I'm just glad that she don't have to deal with him no more, hopefully. But she's now wiser to what to look for in a dating partner.
This happened to me when I was around the age of 23.
Okay.
I had just recently broken up with my girlfriend due to a major argument, which I won't go into any detail as to what it was about. Let's just say that it was personal, and I'd also like to mention that our relationship was unhealthy and dysfunctional. We had both lived in a one-bedroom apartment and both worked. Originally, the apartment room really belonged to her, so I had to move out and back to my parents' house until I could find someone else and a place to live. My parents didn't care if I was living with them as long as I had money coming in and was helping with bills and chores around the house. Eventually, the time came where I had to find another girlfriend, so I went online and found a dating site to look for nearby women who lived in my area. The results showed that there were approximately 20 women who lived near my area looking for someone as well. I never tried online dating before, but I tried it as talking to a girl in person is kind of difficult for me, and because my friends recommended it. However, I did end up finding a girl who we'll call Maria. Maria liked video games, hanging out with friends, and going to the movies, etc. The stuff you'd expect the average person to be interested in. I was interested in that stuff as well, and we began talking over the next couple of weeks. I must say, we hit it off well. I'd get home every day from work, go on my computer, and immediately start chatting with Maria. We'd talk anywhere from 3 hours a day to 6 hours a day about her interests or whatever happened at my work.
You see, right now, everything's positive. He broke up with someone that he really got into bad arguments with, and he found somebody more interesting to talk to. I just hope that this girl is legit and not like story one's version, where they got ambushed by men. I don't know. Let's just see what happens next.
One day, Maria had texted me saying that she wanted to FaceTime me. I have to admit, I was a bit uncomfortable as we've only been talking for a couple weeks and haven't seen or met each other in person. I was also thinking about the possibility that whoever this wasn't the person they claimed to be. The internet can be an untrustworthy place sometimes. However, curiosity got the best of me and I stupidly said yes. Almost immediately, I received a FaceTime call from her. I remember my finger hovering over the green answer button, but I then decided that it was time to man up, so therefore I did it and pressed the button. What I saw was something surprising, something I wasn't expecting to see. I saw Maria. It was her, but she looked horrible. What I mean by horrible was that she looked beat up by life, as if she were depressed. I also noticed a cut near her left eye. My first instinct was that I figured she must have been cutting herself for whatever reason, but something about her face told me that she was scared about something. I had asked her why she had a cut on her and why she seemed so scared. She began telling me that everything was fine and that I didn't need to worry.
I'll be worrying because she might be involved with somebody that she owes a lot of money to, probably, and they came back and beat her up, or her ex came back and beat her up or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'll be like, I think I might have to call the police because this is getting creepy. It looked like you need help.
Just then, I heard a door close while her looking to the right. She then looked back at me, whispering loudly that he left the room and that she needed help and that she'd been raped, abused, and kidnapped. My blood ran cold as I then came to the realization as to what was really going on. These people who kidnapped her were using her as bait to try to lure others into being kidnapped as well. I told her that I'd call the authorities and that she needed to stay quiet. Just then, the door to the room had opened again. This time, I heard screaming and the call then hung up. I called police and gave them the number of Maria and explained the situation in every detail as possible. A week passed and police couldn't find anything linked to the phone call. Not the address, not the name, nothing. I don't use online dating anymore ever since that incident, but what I experienced that day was disturbingly shocking.
Oh, that is sorry that these men grabbed a woman and raped her and using her to go online and try to lure others to her to be kidnapped. But I bet you since she told him to call the cops, they probably got rid of her and hid the body somewhere. And they skipped town probably. Man, that's just sorry. I hope these guys do get caught. If not, they'll be burning in hell for all of eternity for what they did. Because that's just god-awful.
This story takes place in England. My name is Eric, and I'm 25 years old. One evening I was scrolling through my Facebook when a woman called Anya messaged me saying, "Hello." I didn't know who she was, and I usually don't reply to strangers, but she was pretty attractive, so I thought why not, and I messaged her back saying, "Hi." Some time passed, and we ended up talking all night. We got along, and she was very nice, and seemed to be into the same things as me. I was a metalhead, and into dark goth stuff, and she was the same. That same night, she asked me if I wanted to go to her house the next night to listen to music and watch some movies and just hang out and stuff. It was very sudden, I know. I thought we got on well, and I didn't have anything else planned, and she lived 20 minutes away from me.
I mean, hey, if a lady asked you nicely if you wanted to come down to her place to watch a movie and hang out, you couldn't pass that up because if you say no, they'd probably get mad at you. But I'm getting that feeling that this might be another one of them traps to lure people to nice-looking women. I don't know. Let's see.
So we traded phone numbers, and then the following night, I got ready and drove to her address. The house she lived in was in the country, It was a little bit further than I expected. When I finally arrived, I saw the house was a big country house and was beautiful from the outside, to be honest. I also noticed that there's 3 cars in the driveway. I thought that was kind of odd because she told me she lived alone, but maybe she just owned more cars. I messaged her, letting her know that I had arrived. She replied and told me just to come in and go upstairs into the bedroom. That was a little strange, that she wouldn't just meet me at the door. When I entered the house, the place was dark and looked like it hadn't been cleaned or maintained in years, and it had a weird, unpleasant old smell. I proceeded to head up the stairs, the old, creaky, dusty stairs. I spoke out again, saying, "Where are you?" A voice called from the other room, saying, "In here." The voice sounded older than I expected. It was more like an elderly lady. I entered one of the bedrooms from where I heard the voice come from, and I was horrified. There, standing in front of me, was a naked old lady who looked like she had blood smeared all over her, and 2 men standing next to her wearing black robes and a crow skull on their heads as some kind of mask.
Oh, heck no. I knew it. It was some sort of trap. Seems like they're part of some sort of satanic cult trying to lure in innocent people to them. You see that? Get your tail out of the house now.
My heart stopped. I was in pure shock and couldn't breathe. The old lady stepped to the side and revealed the goat whose throat had been slit and drained of blood. She spoke and said, "You are our next sacrifice to our Lord Satan himself." The 2 men began to approach me. I turned around and sprinted as fast as I could. They chased me down the stairs. I flung the front door open, and one of the men tackled me to the floor just as we got outside. I wrestled with him, trying to punch him and get him off me, which I did after a short struggle. I got up and dashed to my car. The man then ran up to my car and started banging on the window, trying to open the door. I quickly started the car and began to drive away as soon as I started accelerating. I saw the second man a few meters away from the front of my car. He obviously anticipated my escape and tried to stop me. I slammed on the brake. The man that tackled me ran up behind my car and smashed my back window. At this point, I slammed on the accelerator and hit the guy who was trying to block my way, running him over. I had no choice, otherwise my life would be over.
No, you did the right thing to do of running them over, because if you just stopped, they probably would have got to you eventually and tackled you right out of the car and take you back in the house. So, no. Don't hit the brakes, just go.
I drove as fast as I could home. I never told anyone what happened.
I would have, but I figured by the time you did that, those people would have been long gone. But that is creepy to encounter for sure.
Okay, so before I begin, I'd like to apologize for the short story, as I remember this just briefly and don't know exactly what happened in full detail. I was around 20 years of age when this happened. I had recently met a guy on Tinder named Jordan who apparently had the same interests as me and liked my personality, even over text. Everything seemed to be going well until the day Jordan said that he was going to, quote, hurt me if I didn't become his girlfriend. The strange thing is that it happened suddenly, and he showed no signs of us being close with each other. We were just supposed to be online friends during the time we met. Some time had passed, and I already blocked him weeks ago. However, one day I came home to my apartment to find that it had been ransacked. Clothes everywhere, personal belongings thrown, turned over furniture, etc. I then found a small piece of paper that was left on my kitchen counter that read the words, "You pay the consequences for not being my girlfriend."
Okay, that I would not tolerate. I would have been taking that note to the police to see if they could arrest that dude for harassment. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Mr. Haunted related content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and that's a wrap, and have a nice day, y'all.